Hello, family members and Facebook friends. Julius Mercer here, author of my new book, A New Fire. It's available on Amazon.com, or you could just get it from me. And motivational speaker also. I'm the founder of Contagious Visions, anti-bully educational platform as well. As I promised, well, first of all, I want to thank those that tuned in on my Facebook page. I had promised to do some excerpts about my lived experience, right? When facing mental illness, wellness issues, along with an addiction. Just go to my Facebook page and then you could see the YouTube video where I talked about my first experience with mental illness. And I want to mind you, that was without any influence of drugs. I was not on any drugs during that period. 7 years later, left untreated the mental wellness issue, left untreated later through a series of events and crises that happened to myself and family members that led me to use crack cocaine. Then the addiction started. That was 7 years later. So, and one of the reasons why I'm sharing this with you, the lived experience part of it, just so that you can get an idea, because many of you have never experienced some mental health issues, nor an addiction, or you may know someone who has experienced one or the other, especially youth, children. In fact, a few months ago, I received 15 letters from kids aged from 5th through the 8th grades in Rogers Park, Chicago area on the north side. And I spoke to them about the same issues and my experience. And it was such a joy to get letters from them. Say, thank you, Mr. Mercer. No one ever talks to us about this. So this is why I birthed Contagious Visions, so I can get out and talk to people, especially youths, about this. And your donation to my GoFundMe campaign for 2026 helps me to do that even easier, more fluently, better, but this way I could purchase more books for giveaways, a lot of giveaways, because some people don't even have the money to afford it. In addition to that, with supplies, etc., and then vending fees throughout my travels, because I am self-sufficient, self-supportive. I'm a self-published author. So again, thank you. The campaign so far is going pretty well. We haven't got to the goal yet. But I hope that you can go to my page and see the link and then contribute something. I don't care if it's $5, $10, whatever it is. Hey, it helps. So I want to talk just briefly about my first time ever going to jail. Again, these are some examples of why, prevention through therapy, counseling, or even a chat with someone like myself, with other individuals, could potentially prevent the jails, the institutions, the near death, or the death, the hospitalizations, which are the institutions, and the homelessness. All of these things I've experienced for many, many, many years. But today I'm 16 years off the drugs, and then I'm 13 years with mental health total remission. Thanks for me was 5 years of therapy and the right medicine. Many people stop taking the medicine because of the side effects. Many people have no idea it's the side effects. They just know it's a bad experience. And if you're like me, 15 different medicines, bad experiences, which were actually side effects, I said, I ain't taking this no more. I'm through, I ain't taking it anymore. And then what happens is family members and people in society, what they see will be an escalation of effects, behavioral and mental health effects. My diagnosis is actually schizoaffective disorder, which is exacerbated through unmanaged stress over a long period of time. So it was. I remember when I was ashamed to admit that, to say it, but I learned that was because of stigma. Stigma related to mental health means that What I'm talking about is this: is when we're afraid of what people will say or think about us if they found out that something wasn't right about us. There's also stigmas in classrooms, like with bullying. Like, for example, it happened to me, maybe it happened to you. You know, go back in your life, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. You know, you're not sure about something in math, English, or whatever the class may be. And so you ask the teacher to explain it to you a little different, or you say you don't get it. Next thing you know, other kids are laughing at you, or someone say, "You stupid. It's easy, man." Or they go, "Duh," you know, make these comments. And then what happens to us is that we don't want to ask any more questions. This is called stigma. So I like to go around and speak to the kids, teach them what stigma is, and also teach them of what the power that they get from removing stigma, or not to let stigma bother them. And also give them some coping skills and tips of how to defend themselves or to diffuse themselves from other kids who are telling them that education is not cool. So, you know, hey, with any drug addiction, just about, okay, I've been around a lot of people who had a lot of drug addictions, you know, and I've been to 7 recovery homes. I've been to 6 recovery centers. You know, I've been in 6 shelters, and I've interviewed many, many people in jail and prison with related to mental wellness or substance abuse, or a combination of both that individuals had while I was writing my book. And I've been locked up 16 times. So, you know, unfortunately, I like to say I did a lot of research, but I don't wish this research on anyone, okay? So I remember, well, again, you know, hard drugs leads to stealing. For me, when I ran out of money, ran out of jobs, I started stealing. The addiction is very powerful. I underestimated the powerful stronghold and the grips the mighty of addiction can have on one. And so I started stealing, taking things, of course, that's not mine. If it wasn't nailed down, I took it. It wasn't the true Julius, but that was Julius hooked on a substance abuse. And of course, you know where that lands you? In jail. If you're lucky, you're going to go to jail or prison. I was lucky. A lot of people end up dead in the streets, beaten so severely and badly that they can die, or just have all sorts of trouble in their lives. You know, disbanded from the family, kicked out of the family, things of that nature. But I remember my first time getting locked up, going to the jail. There's a difference between jail and prison. Jail is usually at your local facility, wherever you live, local, for short-term people that may commit a crime or arrested for something, right? Usually or typically less than a year. Prison is more like for long-term reform. That's what they say. Like, for example, in Illinois, it's called the Illinois Department of Corrections. I don't know what they call it where you at, but I found out after being there, 6 times in prison, that there is no reform and no corrections. You know, there's a lot of educational programs that used to be in a lot of these places to help you to change the way you think. But I don't know, there's many, many reasons why it's been defunded. Money's been taken away. You know, so there's less education. So most people, they get locked up in prison. They do what I call it's an exchange, and it's not a change. So you're just exchanging from being in society to being in prison for 2, 3, 4 years or whatever. For me, my last time was 4 straight years. So you're exchanging your living quarters, right? But there's no change because of lack of, or most are not being mandated to do something different. Get some education, learn about your addictions, or increase your skills with the job industry. They got these things there at prison, but it's just not a lot. Not a lot. For example, you might have 1,200 inmates at a particular prison, 12 to 1,600. But the programs that they offer to help add to your skill, add to your value, so instead of having an exchange, you actually can create a change while incarcerated, and then when you're released, you come back into society, you have a better advantage, and society will experience a better opportunity to meet someone that's gotten rid of their criminal thinking or criminal mind that's either associated with substance abuse, or there's criminal thinking and criminal minds that's not even associated with substance abuse. Some people have it because they were taught that way from negative peer pressure from the streets, right? Right? Do these things, and then this is how we get money. Don't worry about the consequences until the consequences come. And I've seen many people, tough attitude, maybe carrying guns, maybe pistols, maybe not having it, but like to fight and just have this attitude where I don't care. I don't care. Take me to jail. Take me to prison. But I've seen many, as soon as the handcuffs go on them, as soon as they go to court, man, just like me, we start begging for less time. No, please let me out. Not so much. Why so much time, right? So what we want and what I push for is that if a person does get incarcerated, that there's a change and not an exchange. For me, in the last time I was incarcerated, I already have a bachelor's degree from Kansas State. So I also picked up an associate's in addictions that helped me to understand the neurotransmitters and the electrical impulses in the brain, and helped me to understand that I actually had a chemical imbalance in the brain. That came before the addiction, so I never fixed this, but the addiction also made even more problems. And society, they just see the addictions, that's what they see. They think that if you stop, and family members think if you stop the drug use, then you're going to be fixed, you're going to be fine. Well, I found that not to be true. And I just kept the repetition over and over and over and over again. Jails, prison institutions, potential death. Jails, institutions, prisons, homelessness, potential death. Over and over and over until I found change while incarcerated. You see, there is help out there. There is help out there. Some people don't want the help. Some people would like to help, but there is no help depending on what prison that you're in, because there's a different security levels, and the higher the security level is less education. That probably goes for just about every prison throughout the United States. But the local jails, so my first time going to a local jail, I was in a Cook County jail in Chicago, Illinois. Never been involved with the gang, never been the drug dealer, never been to jail in my life. I was 33 years old, my first time going to jail. Don't know no rules about the jail, didn't care about the rules of the jail. All I knew is that the judge sentenced me. They held me, they didn't sentence me, they held me in the Cook County jail until I was sentenced. So I stayed there for about 6 months in the Cook County jail. It's very crowded, 2 cells in a room. It's dark and nasty and gloomy, and a lot of the cells, rusted paint, the lighting is poor, the mattresses are very thin, and then you get 3 meals a day, right? The breakfast and all the food is no good, but you have to eat something, right? So you might get a tray, might have some oatmeal, might have an egg, some bacon. Your lunch is probably bologna. Usually it's bologna all the time, bologna sandwiches, a couple of crackers, a juice, a milk, right? And then when I first walked into the jail, I remember before I walked in, the officers that run the unit, they had assigned me to a unit for where you. I was about 33, so the people I were with were 40 and under, and then they gave me a mattress I had to carry, right? And then I had to take all my regular clothes. You have to take all that off. They give you a uniform, extra uniform to wear. And then a little property box or bag or whatever, got your stuff in. And then I remember when they marched all of us, we were in the line, we had to march and go to our appointed divisions to go to so we could walk in and go to our cell, where we're going to stay. And then I remember they told me that my cell number is 36. That was my assigned cell number, 36. But when I got to the door, there's officers at the door, right? And you check in with them. You think you're going to be, I'm in cell 36. But behind the officers and next to the officers are gang leaders from all the gangs. I don't care if it's black gang, Hispanic gang, white gang, mixed gang, but they are there. And you talk to the officer, hey officer, I'm in 36. And next thing you know, the inmates, two inmates start yelling, hey, what is you? What are you? What are you? I'm like, what? What gang are you in? I said, nothing. And then they said, oh, you're a neutron. A neutron is slang for neutral in the middle, not affiliated. And then I said, the gang member said, you're going to go to cell 19. And I said, officer, wait a minute, no, I'm in 36. And the inmate said, no, you're going to go to 19. And you know, the officers don't say nothing. I had to go to 19 because there was another person that was a neutron just like me. You see, who runs the jails? I'm telling you, I've been there. Maybe it depends on where you live, the population number, and the jail. But from what I see and what I heard, the question, who runs the jails? Oh my gosh. So that was the beginning. Stay tuned next week. I'll talk a little bit more about experience with jail, and then we're going to go to prison. I'm Julius Mercer. Do your best to stress less, laugh more, and have more fun. And again, I appreciate it for you for donating to my GoFundMe page because it's real, but I have a unique way of connecting with other youths, especially youth. Although I've never been plugged involved with the gang, but I have a way through my storytelling, my experience, to connect with them. And all the kids, young people who are involved with gangs, even if you're from a small town, rural area, and even if it's a predominantly white area, it doesn't matter. I have a story that can connect with troubled youth, troubled teens that are going stuff, and a preventive message that can save their lives. I'm Julius Mercer. I'll talk to you soon.